Welcome students. Today we are going to look at management aptitude for BBA exams like Narsi Munshi, etc. So let's try to analyze the paper, that is what exactly is being asked in these management aptitude exams, right? So the first thing they are actually asking is slogans and taglines of companies. So what would that mean? What's the tagline of ICICI Bank? What is the tagline of Nike? What is the tagline of Adidas? And so on. What is the tagline of IPL? What is the tagline of Vivo? Right? Those questions have been asked previously in various BBA competitions from IP University, etc. Then they focus on management definitions. Right? What is the definition of corporate strategy? Right? Or what is the marketing mix? Then they go for economic terms, right? And these economic terms can vary from what is GDP to what is liquid asset, or even a basic economic term like what is macroeconomics. Then they focus on management GK, which is the first cotton mill which was constructed in India. When was the first hydropower plant made in India? Questions like these are asked. Then they focus on communication basics, right? In which they give emphasis on listening and silence as well. They talk about what is self-awareness. We'll talk about all these things in the due course in this video. Now, what is slogan? A slogan is a catchphrase or a small group of words that are combined in a special way to identify a product or a company. It has 4 features. So the 4 features of a slogan are: it is memorable, it includes a key benefit, it differentiates the brand, it imparts positive feeling. And now this is extremely important, that a slogan should impart positive feelings about the brand. Now when I say Nike and I feel just do it, it says something. It imparts positive feeling. That go out and run. That is what it's doing. It differentiates the brand. That what does Nike stands for? In comparison to what Adidas stands for, which says impossible is nothing. It includes a key benefit. It is memorable, most important. Now, there are 2 types of slogans that are asked in exams. So one is the obvious slogans. So the obvious slogans are like the ones Nike, just do it. Right? Apple, think different. And I think all of us would have gone to a McDonald's and I'm loving it, is their slogan. Right? I think we have all seen various ads by Aishwarya Rai for L'Oreal, and it says because you work it. It says something. It's differentiating the brand. It is making it memorable. It is giving a positive feeling to the person. M&M, melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Now all of us would have eaten a Cadbury chocolate and you would remember that it melts in your hands, right? So it is, what is this M&M doing? It is differentiating itself from Cadbury. Lay's, I think everybody has heard, no one can eat just one, right? New York Times, all the news that is fit to print. So it is saying, how is New York Times different from the normal news? That is fit to print. MasterCard, there's some things money can't buy. For everything else, it is MasterCard. So it, again, making it memorable. Now this is extremely, extremely important. Now take the example of an old, the city never sleeps. This is the tagline or the baseline of one of the famous banks, that is Citi Bank. So Citi Corp is the answer to this, right? Now let's take an example of some Indian banks. So Allahabad Bank, the slogan is a tradition of trust. HSBC, the world's local bank. Andhra Bank, more to do with you in focus. Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. So this is important as well, right? ICICI Bank, हम हैं ना ख्याल आपका. हमें है ना ख्याल आपका. This is the tagline of ICICI Bank. Yes Bank, experience our experience. Now these are important. Now take some other slogans. Canara Bank, together we can. right? Central Bank of India, central to you since 1911. ECGC Bank, for you focus on exports, we cover the risks. Now, SBI, with you all the way, pure banking, nothing else. The nation backs with us. So this is one of the ones, right? Management definitions. Now, there are various questions which have been asked in management definitions in fill in the blanks type questions. So in management definitions, what they do, they basically give you fill in the blanks. So corporate strategy establishes the framework within which divisions and business units prepare their strategy. So this is the answer for this. Now let's take a couple of basic definitions as well. So what is marketing? So marketing, what is it? Marketing is a process by which companies create value for customers. Build strong relationships to capture value from customers in return. Understand the three-step process. So what do companies create value for customers? This is the first thing that is happening in the process. Build strong relationships. That's the second thing. And the third thing, finally, to capture value from them in return. Number 3. Take another example. With this question also has come in a BBA exam for IP University. Right? So, customer satisfaction is the totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bears on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. This is the answer. But you might be wondering, what is customer delight? So let's have a look at what is customer delight as well. Customer delight is surprising the customer by exceeding his or her expectations. So idea is always to exceed the expectations. Always in life, exceed the expectations of the customer. And thus creating a positive emotional reaction. Right? And this leads, emotional reaction leads to the word of mouth, and this is the best way of marketing. You have to create emotional reaction in the customer. Right? Now, there are certain problems with marketing. There's something known as marketing myopia, which is only focusing on existing wants and needs and not underlying consumer needs. Right? So what do I mean by that? That my underlying need is that I want to learn about management. Right? But for the time being, I only want to study for an exam. So that's my existing want. But underlying need is that I have to study management. Right? So both have to be taken into account. Marketing management is the art and science of choosing target markets and building profitable relationships. So this is important as well. They might give you this example, fill in the blanks. Market segmentation. Market segmentation refers to dividing the markets into segments of customers. So this is extremely important. So let's assume I'm marketing a product for like BBA. Whom should I be targeting? That's my question. Or I want to target for a client. So which person should I be targeting? In an age group between 18 to 21 years, right? Or maybe somebody from 15 to 17, right? Because I have to make sure that he remembers me. So 15 to 17 years should be the age group I should be targeting, and 18 to 21 to make sure that they remember me so that they can refer students to me, right? Target marketing refers to which segments to go after, right? Now, a lot of times this is asked in various interviews as well. What are the 4 P's of marketing? The first is the product. The second is the price. The third is the promotion, and fourth is the price. So first thing is this, that what is your product and what value it gives to the customer. Then its price. It should be standardized or benchmark with the people at large. Right? This is again important. Then promotion. How do I promote this product? Do I do a Facebook campaign? Do I do a YouTube campaign? Do I give ads in newspapers? Do I send flyers? Do I do events in colleges? What should I do? That's promotion. And finally, place. Which place am I targeting? Right? Which place is the product made? All these things come into this. Now, the next topic that is asked in various BBA exams is economic concepts. Now, let's take the example. If the price of a good increases while the quantity of good exchanged in the market increases, okay, then the most likely explanation is that there have been, right, an increase in demand, an increase in supply, a decrease in supply, or a decrease in demand. So what has happened? Price of a good has increased, and at the same time the good has also, exchange has also increased. So both the price and quantity is increasing. Now normally it doesn't happen like that, so this might be a tricky question. Normally the question would be the price of the good decreases. Okay, in case this is the question, what has happened? There's an increase in demand, hence the price has increased. So this should be the answer, right? On the other hand, if the price of the good decreases while the quantity of the good, the market increases, what has happened? An increase in supply. Okay, so we basically use the same question to understand two concepts of supply and demand. Now take the example. If the price of a good decreases while the quantity of the good exchanged on the market increases, then the most likely explanation has been, as we already talked about, price has P of, let's say, good Q has typically decreased. So this has fallen down maybe from 5 rupees to 1 rupee, while the quantity of the good in the market increases. So the quantity from 100 units has gone to 500. Okay, so what has happened? There has been increase in demand, decrease in demand, and increase in supply. So there has been increase in supply definitely, and hence, so from a typical thing, the price and demand quantity are inversely proportional. So this is important. Now take this example. This is a current affair question, right? So in Russia, it was affected by significant drought. So this is a drought. Okay, right? Russia is a major producer and exporter of several agriculture commodities. And why is that? We'll talk about that as well. So what is in Russia is that there's something known as temperate grassland. So there are temperate grasslands and in the Russian steppe. Okay, right? So they are known as granaries of the world. Right? So granaries of the world are the Russian steppes or the Ukrainian steppes. So as I was saying, right, as a result of a drought, Russia reduced some of its agriculture exports, and that is bound to happen if you have a drought in your country. So what has happened to the rest of the world? So you are for sure that there would be a reduced supply, right? Because Russia is the major exporter, as is written here, right? Major producer and exporter. So what will happen? Reduced supply and increased demand. Why? Because you feel there is drought, there is less quantity, the prices will tend to increase because there would be an increased demand. Now, a lot of questions are asked on consumer behavior as well. Okay, because it's a BBA course, they basically try to ask you some questions. What is culture? So culture is a learned value, perception, wants, and behavior from family and other institutions. Right? So you all have subcultures. Take the subculture example: Bengalis who eat fish, Punjabis who maybe have a lot of chicken and drink a lot of alcohol, Gujaratis which are vegetarian. So these are facets of the culture. So typically culture can be seen as language, literature, right? We take language as a very important facet of culture. Okay. Now question is, what does culture include? Does it include values and beliefs? Does it include custom, tradition, values and desires? Way of living and behavioral habits? Beliefs, values, spirituality, language, familial, social roles, artistic expression, this. So this should be the answer. Number 4, right? Culture includes all of these things. Beliefs, values, spirituality, language, familial and social roles, artistic expression, non-food, non-verbal behavior, remedies, etc. The next thing which is asked in various competitive exams is management GK. Right? So let's take the example of management GK as well. Now, the most famous example for the most easiest question would be the Banking Regulation Act, which was passed in 1949. Okay. This is something that is asked in many competitive exams. Now, they might even ask you about some locations. So Mirzapur. Mirzapur is famous for handmade garments. Okay. On the other hand, if I ask you about Firozabad, okay, it is famous for glass industry, right? So if I talk about Ahmedabad, it is about cotton industry. If I talk about Kanpur, it is about leather industry, right? Now, sometimes they also ask historical questions. So Assam tea would be quite a good thing in which you can talk about. The first company to commercialize tea was Assam tea, right? And this is a question which also has come in previous BBA exams. Okay, who was the first person who established the Bombay Spinning and Weaving Company? This was the first cotton industry in India. Cotton. Okay. So Kowasji Nanabhoy Davar was the first person. Okay, right? So this is extremely important this way. Now they also sometimes ask questions like this: which was the first city to go electric? So that was Calcutta. So it was not Madras, Delhi, Bombay, but it was Calcutta. A similar question is that when was the first hydropower project started in India, or which place it was started? So it was started where? It was started in Darjeeling. Right? There's a place near Darjeeling where it was the first, hydropower project was started. Okay. So the next topic that we have is communication. Now, in this topic, we talk about that what is communication. So let's try to understand the definition, the basic definition. So communication is the imparting or exchanging of information by speaking. Now this is the most important thing. So if I'm speaking, let's assume I'm speaking a language, I'm using English, right? Or writing. So I can write in various scripts. So now let's think about the Indus Valley civilization, and they are talking about the pictographic speed. So in writing, the script is important, right? So in the communication process, what all are the constraints? So first is the sender, which basically initiates the process, right? So in the initiation of process, the sender encodes the message. First, it's he initiating the message. He encodes. Now, encoding would be, let's assume, when we are speaking. So Hindi, English, the language we are using is the encoder. Or typically, let's assume the language that I'm using, okay, to encode. Even if I'm using cryptography, right? So that's also encoding. So let's assume encoding example would be, I think all of us have done this questions like A is 1, B is 2, right? C is 3, D is 4, etc. So you can encode like this as well, right? Typically you have 26, right? From 1 to 26 you have numbers in which you can encode ABC. And if you convert 1 to binary, that is 0 1, right? And this is 1 0, right? And 1 1 is 3, and so on. So you can use encoding very well here. Now the channel through which they're sending. Now these channels are varied. You have fiber optics. You have the medium, that is sound. For sound, that is air, right? Etc. The decoding has to be done by the recipient. If the recipient doesn't understand your language, if the messenger is speaking Chinese and you speak English, then you cannot decode the message. So that is the problem, right? And the decoder will give you a feedback saying it will not work out well. Then you have to look at barriers of communication. Okay, the channel will have a lot of barriers. So sometimes there's a wall between two people. This barrier, hence, can be physical. Right? This is important. Now, let's take an example of a question which has been asked in various competitive exams. The bottom-up communication is the message sent by management to employees, manager to employees, senior management to lower management, okay? Or so this is the example of top-down communication. On the other hand, lower management to top management, right, is the way of bottom-up communication. Grapevine, which is basically gossip, right? Now the importance of grapevine is that it is flexible. There's a lot of flexibility in the grapevine. but it can lead to rumor mongering. Okay, that's the problem with it. It is flexible, it costs very less, it is quicker than normal methods of communication, it is informal, etc. Right? Typically, it is pure gossip and has no relevance for management. This might be true, okay, right? But it is definitely unhealthy, right? The salient features of communication is that it is conversational, right? Typically, right? Okay. So now the next question is, who can create barriers of communication? The sender, the receiver, the situation, all of the above. Now this can happen, barriers can be created by anyone. So if I'm using, right, barrier from the sender side can be there, barrier from the receiver side can be there, and from the situation itself, right? So there are various barriers to communication. There are physical barriers, right, to communication. There are language barriers, I would say, to communication, etc. Right? Sometimes the medium itself becomes a barrier because there's a lot of noise in the background. Now, which of the following concept is related to communication? Okay, so sender and receiver, as we have already seen, coding, decoding, noise, hence all of the above is the answer. So this type of question, easy, this is a very easy question which comes. And I feel that this is something that any student should be able to answer with this. Right? This is another question which came in IP University, BBA. When the message is sent from a functional head to another functional head, it is called functional communication, horizontal communication, that's the answer, vertical communication, none of that. So answer is, when from one functional head another functional head is communicating, it's a horizontal communication because they are the same horizontal level. Okay, thank you for the session.